again!
It's almost!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both.
Hi, welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get the show started. Right, on the show today, Australia decimates England at Perth. They draw first blood and take a 1-0 lead in the Ashes, from being proclaimed as the best English side to now catapulting in 2 days. What went wrong? And Australia may have won on the field, but what losses did they incur thanks to a 2-day affair? There was drama at the Las Vegas F1 Grand Prix with McLaren drivers getting disqualified. Why were they? And what does this mean for Max Verstappen heading into the last curve of this season? And is the honeymoon phase well and truly over for Liverpool? They succumbed to a 3-0 loss to Nottingham Forest. Is it a fall from grace apart from the falling records for a team under Arne Slot? But first, the headlines. We'll start with cricket. Pakistan beat Zimbabwe by 69 runs to enter the final of the Tri-Series. Babar Azam returned to form as the former Pakistani skipper scored 74 to help his side post 195. Zimbabwe were bundled out for 126 in response. Usman Tariq picked up 4 wickets. On to tennis. Italy have retained their Davis Cup title to make it 3 times in a row. Despite world number 2 Yannick Sinner's absence, Italy beat Spain 2-0 in the final. Matteo Berrettini and Flavio Cobolli delivered decisive victories in the singles event draw to help Italy win their 4th Davis Cup. In football and the English Premier League, table toppers Arsenal have extended their lead over second place Chelsea by 6 points. The Gunners beat Tottenham 4-1 in the North London derby. Eberechi Eza scored a hat-trick. In La Liga, the title race heats up as Real Madrid's top position comes under threat. After a 2-2 draw versus Elche, Madrid's lead over Barcelona was brought down to just 1 point. Barca beat Athletic Club 4-0 over the weekend. And summing it up with badminton, Indian shuttler Lakshya Sen has won India's first title this year. The 24-year-old East passed Japan's Yushi Tanaka 21-15, 21-11 to clinch the Australian Open singles title. This was Lakshya's 3rd Super 500 title in his career. Australian cricketer Travis Head has made it a bit of his calling card, the act of handing out nightmares to every opposition. Absolutely no Indian fan will forget November 2023 and how Head squashed a billion dreams, and he ensured England will now have a fresh nightmare to relive every time they even think of playing Test cricket in Australia. The Ashes kick-started on a thumping note. Now, there were many things cool and some not so cool about this Test match, if we even call it that. And just when the purists were getting ready to sharpen their knives, Head made it all about him and Australia once again. And so, exposing how inept and blunt Bazball has become. The question I pose, though, is this: was the Ashes' first Test a great advert of Test cricket, the format itself, or did it only raise more concerns about its future? Let's dive in. Now, one thing is clear post-Perth. England has dug a hole so deep they will have to do something remarkable to bounce back at Canberra, where they head to next. Now, first off, Bazball. That word has been horribly abused, and the biggest culprits right now seem to be the ones who invented this in the first place. Now, the concept, of course, sounded very cool and revolutionary, but what's clear now is that it's just not working, and probably not being employed in the smartest possible way. Many English cricketers and commentators are furious, and the reactions, of course, were ranging from absolute anger to disappointment, which was understandable. But I just had to reserve separate space for one man's frustration, which was very, very evident even as he sat in the commentary box. Stuart Broad was in physical pain as he watched England seemingly implode. Now, this particular moment that you're seeing behind me, of course, came when Joe Root was dismissed by Mitchell Starc. In that first innings, he was sitting next to Matthew Hayden, but you can only imagine what he would have felt watching the horror that unfolded on the next day and as the test ended. In fact, Stuart Broad made one announcement and comment very proud and loud ahead of the start of the series. That was that this side was the best English side that he's seen, and it was contrastingly the worst Aussie side since 2010.
You wouldn't be outlandish in thinking it's actually not an opinion, it's a fact. It's probably the worst Australian team since 2010, when England last won, and it's the best English team since 2010.
Yes, the reference to 2010 was rather obvious. It's when England last beat Australia in Australia, a squad that Stuart Broad himself was a part of. So, like a jibe plus a gentle pat on the back as well. Problem though is, Travis Head took this comment way too seriously and put forth a batting masterclass in that second innings that wrapped up a test match within 2 days, but gave fans all their money's worth till then. Head took the concept of Bazball and elevated it. He came out to open, genius move, and completely dismantled the attack from the get-go. No fancy and quirky shots, though there was that delicious ramp shot somewhere en route his 50. He played all round the park with some proper cricketing shots there, almost giving England a lesson in how to Bazball it. His partner for a considerable stay out in the middle, Head and Labuschagne, played some unorthodox shots, slapping the deliveries around almost in disdain, as if Australia were not only showing an intent to win this thing resoundingly, but also proving a point to England. Unfortunately, that also meant a test match getting over in just 2 days. Now, to quote a commentator, Aussie friend of mine, we all watched something brilliant, but I'm not quite sure if that was a test match. Now, Head may have joked that he felt sorry for the fans who paid for day 3. Now, truth is, while Australia won that test, crucial points that they notched up regarding the World Test Championship cycle, Cricket Australia lost, and millions, $3 million to be precise. This was a test that saw record attendance. Day 1, more than 50,000 turned up. It was a shade lesser than on day 2, but more than 1 lakh in attendance. Now, that's massive for this test. Now, Cricket Australia policy is quite clear. Any match that ends earlier, fans who hold single-day tickets for the days that were cancelled get full refunds. That's 3 days here. Now, while Australia can still smile about the victory on the field, England will unfortunately look back at this test with only more remorse and more questions. Now, while breaking boundaries, reimagining the sport and pushing the envelope is all good for the sport, truth is, Test cricket has its own rules, some that you just have to play and abide by. You simply have to respect the format, you have to respect the situation, you need to respect your opposition. There's a reason there are different formats. Each have very different demands and different expectations. Test cricket gives you the luxury of time, not one to be abused and made little of. England's lack of technique, especially in that top order, lack of thinking and test smarts, it all failed them. They let Australia come right back from a position of being cornered. But more than this, England need to do some serious thinking on who they want to be. What is their true identity? What should be their strategy? And this is key as they head into test number 2. The Formula 1 2025 season is officially going down to the wire because the Las Vegas Grand Prix has detonated a twist nobody saw coming. If the pun points to explosion, then one team surely did. McLaren's superstar duo Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris were shockingly disqualified hours after the race, and just like that, the race for the championship has been ripped wide open. Max Verstappen, who many had declared finished in this title race, is right back in the mix. And now Formula One has a three-way fight heading into its final stretch. So what exactly triggered this double disqualification, and how much has the title battle changed? Does Max Verstappen suddenly have the clearest path to a comeback nobody saw coming? Let me break it all down for you. Now, the Las Vegas Grand Prix was not just another race on the calendar. It was expected to be that turning point of this season, the third last race, and potentially the one that could have sealed the title for Lando Norris. The hype, massive. The stakes, enormous. The attention, off the charts, with even FBI Director Kash Patel and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem in attendance. But Vegas isn't just about glamour, it's about unpredictability, and that came and was delivered in abundance. From the very start, Vegas 2025 felt wacky. A manhole cover came loose, 2 red flags broke the rhythm of practice, multiple yellows disrupted qualifying, and the weekend turned into a wild mix of wet, greasy patches and bumpy straights. It was chaotic, and a real test of the nerves, concentration levels, and a fight for survival. Through it all, one man stood above the rest, Lando Norris. He outdrove everyone, even Max Verstappen, the rain master. Norris took pole, he controlled the pace, he finished second, a critical podium, placing him firmly ahead in the title race. Now, on the surface, it was a dream weekend for McLaren, until it wasn't, because 4 hours after the race, just as the champagne oozed out, just as the title looked within touching distance, McLaren were rocked by the biggest bomb. Both Norris and Piastri disqualified, wiped out, erased from the points because they failed the mandatory post-race skid block inspection. The reason was plank violation. Now, what's that? The plank is a mandatory 10mm board under the car. It is designed to limit ride height and prevent the teams from running dangerously low, close to the track, to gain that speed. FIA rules are very strict here. As per the rule book, it cannot wear down more than 1mm over the course of a race. Now, what does that look like? About 9mm. It can't go below, which is the thickness of this pencil, or a stack of 12 ATM cards, if you put that out. That's how much gap has to be there between that bottom part of the car and the racetrack. But McLaren's cars showed excessive wear. Norris's plank was over 0.12 millimeters, Piastri well above 0.26 millimeters. The world was in shock as the most unbelievable scenes played out just with few races left, because this has happened, but especially in the current scenario and within hours of completion, pings, alerts rang out with the strangest turn of events. Drivers were clearly stunned and distraught, and McLaren, a team in striking distance of a world championship, failed on a fundamental technical check. Now, unintentional, yes. Costly, absolutely. Avoidable, absolutely yes. Now, let me explain this here. The main reason for the difference in that plank came down to excessive wear and tear. We know how this works. Now, let's look at the setup. In qualifying, McLaren had opted for a more loaded aerodynamic setup, heavier rear. Let's look at the conditions. Now, the race itself was held in relatively dry conditions, unlike what happened during practice and qualifying, which was wet, challenging, slippery, which led to the critical lack of foresight rather than an outright error by McLaren. Because, as Andrea Stella admits during the race, the greater grip produced thanks to the setup itself created greater vertical load, which means excessive scraping. The turns at certain point also didn't help, and the fact that they had not carried out long run simulations on slick tires meant you couldn't really foresee the miscalculation that ultimately could occur, which is what happened. Now, sure, this has happened in the past. It's happened with Ferrari, and the team had limited time to change this or do anything else just before the race. However, unfortunately, the result is this. The race for the driver's title is now split wide open. Championships don't care about excuses. And in Formula One, opportunities like these don't come every year. Before Las Vegas, Verstappen was a long shot, a mathematical possibility rather than a genuine contender. But the moment McLaren slipped, Max Verstappen now smells blood. Here's what the standings now look like after this. Verstappen is level with Piastri. Both Piastri and Verstappen are now just 24 points behind Norris, with 58 points still up for grabs now. And momentum is on one side only, Max Verstappen's. Because while Norris and Piastri walked away devastated from Vegas, Verstappen left emboldened. This is the same Verstappen who was buried earlier this season beneath Red Bull's political turmoil, Christian Horner's exit, and a car that struggled to match McLaren's raw pace. But since the Italian Grand Prix in September, Max has clawed his way back. Quietly, consistently, doggedly. And now he walks into Qatar as the hunter with nothing to lose. And a relaxed Verstappen is a dangerous Verstappen. He only needs to look back at 2021 for inspiration when he defeated Lewis Hamilton by just 8 points in one of the most dramatic season enders ever. 4 years on, he has another chance to steal a title that seemed out of his reach. 2 races to go, 3 drivers in contention, one of the tightest finales in modern F1. Norris still leads, but now has to overcome the mental battles that Vegas scarred him with. Piastri must fight back after the worst gut punch of his career. And Verstappen, well, he's smiling, smelling opportunity. And Max Verstappen with momentum is one of the most unstoppable forces this sport has ever seen. Liverpool, a global giant, is suddenly drowning in a full-blown seating crisis. For more than a decade, Liverpool fans have been used to seeing their club sit proudly in the top half of the Premier League table. But after a shocking 3-0 demolition by Nottingham Forest, Liverpool have tumbled down to 11th place, below their fiercest rivals, Manchester United. And for the first time since he arrived at Anfield, their usually defiant manager Arne Slot has openly admitted Liverpool are in a slump, and the crisis is real. Now, Arne Slot arrived with more hype than almost any manager in the EPL post-Klopp era. Jurgen Klopp himself endorsed him, fans welcomed him with open arms, and Slot delivered immediately, leading Liverpool to the Premier League title in his first season. But the honeymoon seems to have ended rather quickly, and reality, brutal, unforgiving Premier League reality, has struck Liverpool. 8 losses in the last 10 matches, only 2 wins. These are numbers that are not just concerning, they're alarming for a club of Liverpool's stature. And in Premier League, throughout the season, they have a 50% loss ratio. That's no good for a team that's defending its title, because league leaders Arsenal have lost just once. But the real earthquake came against Nottingham Forest, a result that has shattered an Anfield record that was untouched for more than 3 decades. Nottingham Forest walked into Liverpool's fortress and walked out with a 3-0 win. And what made it even worse was that instead of the iconic echo of "You'll never walk alone," Anfield rang with Forest fans chanting "You're getting sacked in the morning." Away supporters drowning out Anfield. Even Slot, who always dressed up losses as a part of the process, has finally confessed.
Playing at home, losing 3-0, no matter which team you face, is of course a very, very, very bad result. But I want to emphasize one more time on the fact that I'm responsible for the current losses.
Now, for a manager known for his stubborn optimism, this was a moment of sobering honesty. To understand Liverpool's crisis, I would have to rewind to a famous Jose Mourinho press conference in 2018. Back then, Mourinho said Otamendi, De Bruyne, Fernandinho, Silva, Sterling, Aguero, they are investments from the past, not the last 2 years. And that perfectly sums up Liverpool today. Because Liverpool fielded Alisson Becker, Mohamed Salah, Virgil van Dijk. These players built Liverpool's golden era, but football evolves, and their prime years cannot quite carry the club forever. Now, today, Liverpool's past investments, their heritage, look like they're stumbling, and a club used to ruthlessly dominate is only losing its legacy.
We are definitely letting him down, but we've let ourselves down as well. You look at yourself first, and then you help each other. You help each other get out of this mess. Because at the moment, it is a mess. That's just a fact.
When your captain publicly calls the team being in a mess, you know the situation is intense and dire. And Arne Slot, who looked like a tactical genius last season, now risks becoming a one-season wonder with them. Because he is relying too heavily on the same fixed group of players instead of evolving with the Premier League's pace, intensity and tactical shifts.
If I was Slot, I'd try and make a big decision just so it has an impact on the rest of the team. Salah is not helping them defensively. If you're one of the players who they've signed and you're on the bench, then what message does that send to you?
Rooney is basically telling Liverpool, it's time to move on. Time to embrace the next generation. Time to stop living on the achievements of their past and start building the future. Because here's the cold hard truth. Liverpool are not being beaten because they lack talent. They are being beaten because they lack a sense of direction. They look tired. They look a little predictable, slow in transitions, out-muscled in duels, and mentally very fragile. The fear factor that once made Anfield the most intimidating ground in Europe, gone. The pressing intensity, gone, and the swagger, not there. Sure, the Champions League performances have come as a blessing in disguise, but with losing their identity, it will become a hard task in the fag end of the season. Arne Slot was brought in not just to continue Klopp's legacy, but to help the team evolve beyond that. Right now, Liverpool look stuck between what they were and what they need to become. The heritage is beautiful, but Liverpool can't keep living in yesterday's glory. Their biggest rivals, Manchester United, did that for years, and look where that got them. No Premier League trophy in over a decade. Their future depends on courage to change, to rebuild, and the courage to start something new, a new era. And if they don't act fast, the slump could become more than just a phase. Time for last serve. Yemen, a country long scarred by war, has found hope in riding. Its athletes are mastering a discipline, an ancient cavalry sport in which riders gallop along a course and use lances or swords to pick up small targets on the ground. Their next goal, World Cup qualifiers in Egypt next month. And while they're still hopeful that they will get the support that they need. That wraps it up here on First Sports. I'll of course see you again tomorrow. Till then, do take care. Bye-bye.
They promised glory. They delivered fear. They shaped nations. They scarred generations. From brutal purges to propaganda machines, from stolen power to violent falls from the throne. Welcome to The Dictator, a series that strips away the myth and then exposes the men behind the tyranny. History remembers their power. Firstpost reveals their truth.